it reminds me of that time when I felt like anything could happen and anything was possible. You know, your 20s are a point at which you could go in a multitude of directions. The possibilities feel limitless. So like for me, it's a really positive time and happy memories of silly dancing on a sticky dance floor, dropping a can of Red Stripe and failing to pick it up.
Hello, I am Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, the podcast that mourns the death of queer nightlife. Every episode, I talk to a different person about a venue from their past, the memories they created there, and the people that they used to know. Today, we are talking to David Paisley, a Scottish actor known for roles in soap operas Holby City and Reverse City, two cities. Tale of Two Cities. He is also a tireless LGBTQ campaigner, recently being acknowledged with an Attitude Pride Award for his campaigning against the trans-exclusionary agenda of the LGB Alliance. He first moved to London when he got the role as midwife Ben Saunders in Holby City, and he hated it. It wasn't until his second time around that the city's charms started to show themselves, and he had fun exploring the sticky dance floors and sweaty bars of Soho. We originally caught up to talk about Ghetto, that beloved icon of the mid-noughties queer scene, but as is usual on this show, we kinda went on the scenic route, which took in other clubs, including Pop Stars and Trash Palace, and some entirely unrelated conversations about funeral songs, the Spice Girls, and the anxiety of being the person in control of a playlist at a party. So when did you move to London?
First of all, I moved in about 2003, 2002, 2003, because I got offered a job working down in London, working on a TV show. I had a boyfriend at the time, and we had to come to an accommodation with that because he was still studying up in Glasgow, so he stayed in Glasgow. And yeah, it's quite a change of pace. Quite shocking.
So why do you bring up the boyfriend then?
Because we had a long-distance relationship for a number of years while I was in London and he was in Glasgow.
Oh, for a number of years. It didn't just like fall apart within a month.
No, not really. No, we were together for 7 years.
I'm always surprised when people like manage to make that happen. Like, wow.
I think moving to London was a factor in why we eventually broke up. You know, I think it's really challenging to be in a long-distance relationship. And I was really young. Like, I was only 22, 23. But we'd already been together for about 3 years by that point, 3 or 4 years. So we were quite a settled couple. We were quite happy together. So moving to London was quite a big challenge for us, but I couldn't turn down the job. The job was such a good opportunity. So yeah, I had mixed feelings about going. I had mixed feelings about being there. My first time in London, I was like there for 2 years, and I didn't enjoy it. Like, I didn't like London.
Oh, wow. Okay. Like, did you always want to be an actor, and was it always like, this is the path I'm on, this is what I'm going to do?
Kind of, yeah. So I was like in school plays and things like that. I was the shyest kid you'd ever meet. I was incredibly shy. But for some reason I was drawn to this idea of performance, and partly that's, I always try to work out why I was so drawn to it, but I think for me there's something about the kind of cathartic release of playing with your emotions on stage in a way that's not real, right? Because you can explore emotions and feelings and thoughts in a character, and that's not you. That's kind of outside of you. So, like, I was always quite drawn to that, even when I was quite young. So I feel like I always wanted to do something creative. I think that's one of the creative impulses is to get a response from whoever. And if you're a musician, you kind of want to have an audience, or If you're in visual art, a lot of people create stuff and they create it for themselves. But there's another part of creativity that's about connecting with an audience. So and there's different ways in which we're creative, different reasons why we're creative.
And there's kind of a safe way of doing it, isn't there? Like, so if you're an actor, it's a very kind of contained, like, I am going on stage and I am going to do this. So you maintain that control while still being able to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, I think, for someone who's shy and who's a bit of an introvert, like, it's a really great way to hide. Because you can be on stage in front of hundreds of people, sometimes thousands, and it's not you. There's a character. They're looking at the character. They're not looking at you. And that I've never had stage fright because I don't feel like people are looking at me. I play music and I write music, and I had to stop doing that because I got such terrible stage fright because the music that I write is it's so personal. And when I'm on stage doing music stuff, I feel like I'm bearing my soul, which I don't feel like I'm doing as an actor because it's someone else's soul. I know that sounds kind of odd, but I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of musical performers perform in character. There's a lot of people who take on a persona in order to perform. And so I kind of understand that.
But I always kind of think, I don't know, I guess like with my songs, although they are very personal, it feels like that's someone from another time. So it's not really me. So it's got that kind of sense of performance about it as well.
So if you have enough distance from it, that you feel like that's... I can kind of understand that. I can understand that. And also, some people write in character. They write songs in character, so they're not songs about them. Some people are really clear about the fact that they write stories about characters and the songs that they sing. One of my favourite singers is Kathleen Edwards. And she always writes songs that are in characters, because if she was that character in her songs, she'd be messed up. She's got several boyfriends in jail. Her life's a mess.
It's that country thing, isn't it? Like, because of her background.
Yeah, for sure. So there's different ways, different approaches. When you create something, it can be incredibly personal, or you can step outside of it and have a little bit of objectivity. And I've never mastered that with my music. I just find myself so exposed. So
that's so interesting. Because even when you're writing about yourself, there's some creative license.
But then I think that the way that I use music is so personal. So I play...
To process
I play instruments and it's like therapy almost. When I'm sitting with my guitar playing music, it's almost meditative and therapeutic. And so therefore it's not actually... that's, I was saying some art is for an audience. I feel like that's not for anyone else. It's for me. Like it's a process that I just enjoy that's very, very personal. And if anyone ever overhears me, I feel like I've been caught naked. Oh
wow!
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Nick Drake once said that he's written like 5 albums. Oh, I hope it was Nick Drake. That he'd written like 5 albums that were like for him, and he's never gonna like release that music. Actually, I think it might be Jeff Buckley. It's someone who's white and a man.
Well, I think. Because Nick Drake only wrote, he wrote 3 albums, I think, and the third one was Pink Moon, and he wrote that almost in total isolation. And apparently, because the legend is that he just slipped the masters on the desk of his record company and walked out. Like,
can you imagine?
I understand that though. I think that's so. I've got recording equipment at home for it because I thought I should probably record some of this stuff just for me, so I've got it. But it's hard to do because I don't really. It's honestly, it's like letting someone read your diary from the time when you wrote that song. Some of it's incredibly personal, and that thing of inviting people in to see a part of you that's very private. That's one thing that music can do, but that's not the only thing that music can do. Music is more about connecting with people, and sometimes people see it as having a good time. Most of my music is miserable.
Join the club. I don't. Well, see, for me, I think because I'm like, if I'm on stage, if I'm in front of a group of people, if I am like in any way in any kind of social setting, I suddenly become like really inarticulate, unable to really communicate what it is that I'm trying to say. And so for me, songwriting, because it's something that I've done beforehand and then memorized, I can then come and say like, and this is what I want to say. And it is in that kind of safe way because I'm not then because what I'm communicating becomes like second nature. So I'm not kind of overthinking it in my head whilst performing.
Yeah, that's kind of like, so as an actor, when you rehearse something, and so because it's just in your bones and it sits in you, it's much easier to then explore it on stage, because it's not an immediate, like you want performance to look like it's immediate, it's in the moment, but actually any stage performance tends to be rehearsed, and that's probably one of the reasons why I don't really get nerves on stage, is because it's always quite well rehearsed. And also being given the words that you're going to say means I don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing, because I have the words, I have the thing planned out. It's not, whereas things like public speaking and trying to be, or anything, that's something else, that's anything that's not planned.
Like anything like this, like this conversation we're having right now, you mean?
This is okay. This is fine. This is a conversation between two people. I think I've done Have you ever done a Q&A in front of an audience? I've done like that, and that's always a bit. It's just different, because
when they ask the question and you don't have time to think about what your response is, and all these people are staring at you, and your
brain just goes, I don't know. Or worse, your brain does that thing of clicking into a different gear, and it's just like pouring out of you and you can't stop.
Well, I mean, that's better side for the audience, I guess. Like, it might be embarrassing for you if you over-reveal things, but, at least they're getting their money's worth. But so the reason that I was asking about that is because... So the assumption that I would make is, if you were aspiring to be an actor and you lived in the UK, you would be like, I'm going to move to London, I'm going to go and like audition, and I'm going to like make it in acting. Was that ever part of your plan?
Not specifically. I think you're right. So much of the industry is down there. My entry into that industry was quite immediate and unexpected, because I was a teenager and I got cast in a TV show at an open audition. I wasn't really planning on it. I didn't go to drama school, but although it was something I always wanted to do. My mum was a writer, so she was a published writer, and I knew that I wanted to maybe do something creative, and we'd spoken about it quite a lot, and she said, well, she knew the realities of working in these industries, and she just said, get a career, a bedrock underneath you. And also she really felt that the best creative output comes from people who have life experience. It's not always true. I think sometimes you can get really interesting stuff from very young people that maybe but it's also true that the experience helps inform the creative process. So she felt, if you feel like you've got something to say, give it 10 years, you'll have even more to say, and also, I think she just didn't want me to be skint, like a bro, like, don't do it. Because it's like all the creative professions can be quite challenging and tough. Acting is difficult. I know a lot of working musicians, it's very similar. They actually making a career out of it, where the majority of your income comes from that work, is really challenging. So most people have to have a mixed income and look at ways of making it work,
Yeah. So you'd done this open audition when you were a teenager, got an acting role, and then that led to the acting role in London, or it led to an agent, which led to the...
Yeah, so I got this open audition, and we did 2 series of that TV show, and I did a few plays with the same theatre company that made the TV show, and that led to an audition with the BBC for a network TV show on the BBC, and I did that for a few years as well. Each thing kind of led into the next, and I ended up living in London. I hadn't really planned it; it just all happened. And I definitely, it's a weird one, because I definitely wanted to work. I definitely thought this is a great opportunity to do something, and sometimes I'm quite brave about that kind of stuff. Like, I'll just do it. Now that I'm over 40, looking back, I wonder how I was so, I didn't have any fear of doing it. I just did it, Whereas now that I'm a little bit older, I feel like I've got some more, now that I've got that experience, I'm slightly more cautious and less brave and bold. I think we're all quite bold when we're young.
Well, it's because you're not necessarily thinking through the negative consequences, are you?
Yeah. I mean, I was a teenager when I got into the industry, and you just think, oh, this will be fun. I'll give this a go. And that was one of the reasons why when I left London after my job on that TV show finished, I found it quite challenging. You know, I moved back to Glasgow. As I said, my relationship with my partner, he had got a job in Bristol by this point, so he moved to Bristol just when I moved home. Yeah, and that like typical, and that put strain on the relationship, and eventually that relationship failed. So I was in Glasgow. I just didn't really know if I was supposed to be an actor anymore, and if that's really what I wanted to be, because like you have to be really committed to working in creative professions in order to make it work. So I had a few years of just really considering whether or not that was for me. And eventually I thought I will give it another go. And I moved back to London because, like you say, London is the city where a lot of those industries are based. So I moved back down, and that was my second time in London. And that was a very different experience to the first, because it was a choice to move down. The first time wasn't really a choice; it was a necessity. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So it wasn't like, oh, I've got this acting role. I'm gonna go to London and I'm gonna like live this fantastic life. It was like, oh, I better go and do it then, I suppose.
Yeah, well, there's elements of the first time round in London I really didn't enjoy. I didn't like being away from home. I missed my partner. I don't like the fame side of the work that I do. I've never been a big fan of being in the public eye. And the TV show that I did was quite a big TV show at the time. It had about 8 million viewers, 10 million at maximum, kind of. So it's quite well watched. And
why do we keep not saying the name of the TV show, by the way?
I don't know. I feel like I'm being discreet.
Why are we called, like, the TV show?
The TV show. Well, I don't know why. It's called Holby City. I was a midwife on Holby City for a few years. And they killed me off in a car crash. I got crushed to death under an oil tanker.
Bastards.
I know. But I suppose my experience of that it's not wholly positive, because we're going to talk about scene and venues, and there was a point where I couldn't going out to like venues and going out to the gay scene kind of bled away, because at that time when I was younger, there weren't that many out gay actors playing out gay roles. So I was a bit of an outlier. It's much more common now. There's there's so many more public figures and people that people can point to and look up to and have representation. But when I was young, that wasn't so available, and I was in a position where if I'd go out to certain clubs, and I'm quite shy, like I say, I'm really, really shy, and that kind of attention I didn't enjoy, and this experiences I had with that are, it made me not want to be on television anymore. So after that, like I say, I had a bit of a, gosh, why am I doing this? Do I really want to do this? Like I said, I didn't really want to be on television anymore. And I had to have a think about what I did want to do with my life and if acting was really for me. And I was only about 25, 26. And it's odd. To have a career and to think, oh, is that it? Is that it done? Am I going to leave that now? Or is it leaving me? Because sometimes that happens.
You don't have that choice, yeah.
Yeah.
So are we able to just talk a bit more about those experiences in like queer clubs when you were in London the first time? Was it just like everyone wanted to talk to you because of who you were? Or was there more to it?
Yeah. I have some really good experiences of the first time. Because I was a regular at Pop Stars, the club. Yeah. I just loved it. But I was always in a fight with my best friend over, because he liked there's like the rubbish room where they played pop music, and I really liked the indie room because I'm like a bit of an indie boy at heart, and so he was always like dragging me off, and I'm always like dragging him back down. So I have really fond memories of that space at the Scala. And that was probably a highlight of my time in London is that place, and places like Heaven, which I used to go to quite a lot. which are like they're quite busy and a bit of a sweatbox, and you can kind of get lost in them a little bit. And so like actually most of my time in London was all right. That was okay. It was only really later on that I kind of started to. But as I say, like Popstars was such a wonderful venue, just kind of scuzzy and grotty and wonderful, and I have so many happy memories of. So what I did when I went to London, I made friends with a big group of people from university, the LGBT group, that I kind of semi-joined, even though I wasn't at university, because I was university age. Right? I was the same age as them, so I just hung out with this whole group of people from, and just like pretended I was a student, and I pretended that I wasn't. If someone asked me what I did, I said I was a student. I was like, "Oh, I'm a student." I had someone come up to me once and say, "Has anyone ever told you you look just like David Paisley?" I'm like, "No, I've never heard that." Anyway, not really. But London can be a bit more anonymous and at times, and there's quite welcoming places that you can go. Like I'm not, like I say, I had some very good experiences down in those venues.
But what about the negative experiences? Sorry. Tell me the bad stuff.
What about the bad stuff?
What about the drama? You were saying that like it wasn't like because you were shy, it wasn't always welcoming, you didn't always enjoy the scene that first time around.
Yeah, I was very, very shy. So I kind of just liked hanging with my friends, like most people do when they're out. And there was a few instances of things being uncomfortable. Sometimes people would be rude to my friends. And I wasn't very good at it. Like I wasn't very good at, because people just want to say hello or they want to just acknowledge something. And I've learned how to cope with that better. You know, it's just about being polite and friendly, and then also being boundaried and saying thanks so much. I'm just going to go back to my friends now. You know, so like understanding how to handle that. My shyness was so bad that I'd get terrible social anxiety, that I would kind of clam up and almost appear rude. I think I would, because I was so like, because I don't really like talking to strangers. I have this real, hello, by the way, like that. But that's something from childhood. I didn't really like strangers. I was quite a shy, introverted person. I used to hide behind the sofa with the dog when a stranger would come into the house.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Was the dog willing or was the dog dragged?
Oh, we were good pals.
Okay, all right.
I've had to learn how to push past that shyness, and I'm much better at it now.
And that's something that you get better at with age as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you learn what people want from that interaction. Like people just want to like be seen and be heard, and to acknowledge that they and almost 98% of the time people are just polite and okay. And there's a small fraction of people that kind of are less polite or are a little bit invasive, and
might have their hands in certain parts of your body that they shouldn't have.
That's happened, yeah. Or they just say something disrespectful and not very kind. And yeah. So I've had challenging experiences where people have disrespected my boundaries and disrespected my friends, and stuff like that. And that made me really question things. Yeah.
Oh. So that was like your first stint in London. Then you got run over by a truck. Then you moved to Glasgow, and then you were like, "Yeah, I do want to do acting. I'm going to go back to London and pursue it." What was that like going back the second time?
Very different. Very different, because like that's when I could really be anonymous in London. People forget very quickly. So it was a couple of years later, and I was a little bit older, and it was a very different experience. My relationship had ended, so I was single. Actually, one of the reasons I moved to London was because my ex had moved to London, and I was like, I'm going to go to London, I'm going to get him back.
Oh no. Did you like just happen to rent a flat on the next street or?
It's worse than that. Oh my gosh.
Oh God!
This is
no.
going to sound really
Tell me.
terrible. I moved to London, and he had met someone else, and he introduced me to this person that he met, and I was like heartbroken, and it was all really, really difficult. Yeah. Anyway, I ended up going out with his new boyfriend. I'm a terrible person.
Because what? So okay, all right. Let's unpack this. So you then like stole him away?
Not really. No. They were. This is really personal. I love them both dearly, and I'm still really good friends. I'm still really good friends with them both. I was actually at my ex's wedding just a couple of years ago, and my partner that I met in London, who ended up being a long-term partner, was originally going out with my other. But yeah, this is like such a this happens a lot.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage for a queer man. Yeah.
But we're all still pals, so that's all right.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay. Like, it's great that you're all still friends, but what happened?
This is how it actually relates. I actually messaged my ex that I met in London, the second one. His name is Ben, and we met in these venues that I really loved, places like Trash Palace and the Ghetto. And we were like regulars in the Ghetto, going to nights like Red Eye and Misshapes and Wig Out. And there was another night called Nag Nag Nag, which was at the Ghetto, which is quite well known, because they did like an Electro Clash kind of, and it was really popular at that time. It was like the early noughties, like up to, and he was a punk, so he had like a mohawk, and he went, because Red Eye was like the punk night. I feel like in London at that time had these venues that were so much more diverse than I've seen in the last few years. Like so many different types of music. You could go out on a different night, and yeah, it was quite a golden time. I really enjoyed that particular period, just because the music and like the Ghetto was like a little sweatbox that was just mental.
So you are taking me off in a completely different direction. Do you not want to talk about this?
No, I will. Yeah. So that's where I met Ben, who was my second partner. It was just one of these awkward things so my first partner is a wonderful, wonderful human being, and so is Ben, and that's probably why they were drawn to each other. And then when I was introduced to him, I was like, oh, hello, and I met him, and that night I was like, oh God, he's lovely as well. Oh. He's a really lovely human being.
Fuck my life, they're together, damn it.
Yeah. Oh gosh, great. Well, he's lovely, and I'm really, really happy for them. Things actually, we didn't immediately get together because Ben and my ex broke up, and then I knew I had a kind of connection with Ben, and I spoke to him about it, and we agreed to wait to give it time. And we waited a year before we actually started dating, because we wanted to give it enough space. And I asked permission from my first partner. I was like, would you be okay if we got together? Because we look quite like each other. And is this okay? So, yeah, I asked permission.
You made it. I thought this was going to be like...
Do you thought this was going to be
really scandalous?
That's why you were digging. You were looking for this scandal here.
It's like so innocent. Like, you went and asked permission. Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, to be honest, he wasn't pleased. He wasn't like. I think it was challenging for him,
even though they'd been broken up for a year.
Yeah, but me and him had been together for 7 years. I met him when I was 19, and we were like proper. We had a house and a cat, 2 cats and a car. We were really together.
What were the cats' names?
George and Martha. We named them after the two lead characters in not Cat on Tin Roof. That was our other cat. We had 3 cats. We had Maggie the cat, who was named after Maggie from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And we had George and Martha, who were named after Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I was a bit of a Elizabeth Taylor obsessive. I don't know. I had 2 cats named after Liz Taylor characters. You tell me. Yeah. So like it was a little bit scandalous. It was a bit difficult and emotionally difficult, because, as I say, we all were in the same friendship group. We tried to be as respectful and kind as possible. It wasn't one of those, I'm going to steal your man things. It wasn't like that. It was,
yeah, I thought it was like, well, if you don't want me, then you can't have anyone. I'm going to take him from you.
Oh gosh, no. It wouldn't be like that. No. It was heartbreaking though, because when they were together, and I was like, oh gosh, you're both so lovely, and you probably are a really good couple, and oh well, like I just thought, well, you're such an amazing person, that my plan
so you
in my
didn't
mind
spiral into like a pit of self-pity.
A little bit, because my plan initially was to try and win my partner back, and then I met his new boyfriend, and I was like, oh well, he's amazing. And really, and he's a very handsome man as well, and I felt like I couldn't compete, and I felt, if you want to get personal about it, it was quite devastating, but then I think that was my first love. I lost my first love, and that's always a little bit devastating. So yeah.
Okay, so you moved back to London. You had a very clear plan about what you were going to do. That plan was up in flames quite quickly. But then what about the acting? What was the plan there?
So I didn't really have the drive to get back onto television so much. I wanted to do some theatre, and I wanted to kind of do other things. I changed my agent, and I ended up. It took a wee while to get myself re-established, because I'd had a bit of a time out, and I got my new agent, and then eventually I got a job on a TV show in Scotland. So I had to move again, and I left my partner. I was going out with Ben, my new partner at this point. I'd been together for like 3 years, and I had to move to Scotland and leave him behind. Honestly, my career hates me being in a relationship.
But you're pretty good at being in relationships if you've managed all these long ones. Okay, so then let's not go down that path. So so being in London the second time, did it feel different? Did it feel exciting this time?
Yeah, very different, because like there was a lot of distance from my previous experience of being like on screen, and so that kind of had faded away, which I'm much more comfortable about. And so and me and Ben, he was a student when I met him, and we just kind of typical kind of student boyfriends, mid-20s, like exploring like London kind of student aid clubbing and fun stuff with our friends, and just it was a different time, I think. So I enjoyed it a lot more, just because it was on my terms. Like I was in London and I had chosen to be there, and like it's challenging. London's a challenging place to live, and challenging to get myself re-established in a city. But I made such a lovely group of friends, people that I absolutely adore, and that I'm still really close friends with. I've got such lovely connections down there, and that's what I didn't have the first time. So the first time I was there, I just felt like a Scottish man just plonked in the middle of London, and I didn't know anybody. And the second time around, I had like really lovely people who helped look after me, helped me get set. Do you know what? I'll tell you this. I didn't have a place to stay when I moved down. So my best friend Zara, who was absolutely wonderful, she and her pal Kate let me stay on their sofa. I stayed on their sofa for 10 months while I tried to sort out a job and a place to stay. I was on that sofa for 10 months. I could.
And what was your back like at the end of that?
It was a very comfortable sofa. It was a futon. So it was like,
and you're short.
Then at the end of 10 months, I found a place to live, and I said to them, I was like, "Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. I found a place to live. I'm going to have to move out." I thought they might be sad. They were like, "Oh, thank God." I was like, "Oh," but this because they were so lovely. They never made me feel like I was in the way, or that, and they really, really helped me when I needed to establish, get myself like back into just changed my life, and they really helped me. It was really lovely of them, and they didn't kick me out. It's just like me staying on the sofa for so long. That's love.
You wouldn't have lasted that long in my flat. That is love.
Yeah. Like, 2 days. Like,
So I've been to the estate agent. I found a bunch of lovely flats for you. Off you go, bye. So let's go to the ghetto then, because this is the club that we're here to talk about. Do you remember the first time you went there?
Oh gosh, I think so. Yeah. Well, because that will have been with Ben, and I think it would have been to Red Eye, which is like the punk night, and his friend was one of the DJs, and so the experience of going is quite heady. Like, it was underneath the Astoria, so it was underneath GAY, and this specific night, it was one of their like harder nights with like some quite like harder music in terms of more punk based, and if someone just wandered in thinking they're going to get the usual like gay club experience, they'd get quite a shock. That actually used to happen quite a lot. People would get chucked out of GAY and they'd wander around to the ghetto. And but as a venue, because you went down these stairs, as I recall, and it just had this. It smelt terrible. It was so sticky and dirty, and like all there really was Red Stripe. That was the most affordable drink you could have. Everyone drank either Red Stripe or like, I think they did a deal with like some. It wasn't Red Bull, but it was like Red Bull.
Like a knockoff brand.
Yeah, and a spirit that maybe was vodka, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was maybe it was methylated spirits. Who knows? But because it's specifically for like that kind of like 20s student-y kind of London crowd of people that had a real hunger for like an alternative scene. So each of the different nights at the ghetto was focused on a slightly different like vibe. And so there's like lots of, at that point, you know, Electroclash was a thing. There was lots of young gay punks in London. There was quite a like little resurgence of the punk movement. So there was, lots of cute boys in mohawks, and just me kind of stoating about the dance floor, to Courtney Love, and the Distillers, and because I quite liked that sound, you know, like I've got quite varied music tastes. And at that point I was like quite into things like that, and Riot Girl was something that I was I really like Riot Girl, and I was quite a big fan of Veruca Salt back in the 90s, so, like a kind of very American punky kind of female led bands, which I really adored when I was younger. And they had like I can't remember what time at night. At some point at night, someone would like a band would come on, and they'd have like a live gig on certain nights, and it would be really unexpected, and you never really knew who was going to turn up. That was always something really exciting about the venue, because suddenly the music would go off. You'd be like, "Oh, what's happening?" And it would set up, and it just had that real electric kind of feeling in the air of possibility, and it's strange. As an older person. Now that I'm 40-ish, slightly over, let's not go into it. I haven't cast my mind back to that time so much. And, you know, you asked me my first experience, and strangely, all those experiences kind of blend into one that's quite positive. Because that sense of having found a tribe and a bit of a family, which is quite important for young people in their 20s when they're trying to establish a sense of their identity and who they are. So I think venues like that are really crucial for people finding like-minded people. And weirdly, music does that, I think, because I have very varied taste, but you can tell a lot from someone from the kind of music that they like and that they listen to, you know, I think.
Well, can you?
Can you?
No.
Well, it can be deceptive. I used to think, like, it can be. I used to think, well, that you won't meet a bad person that's a Tori Amos fan, because I'm such a big Tori Amos fan. I was like, oh, you'll never meet a bad Tori Amos fan. And then I dated one.
I feel like that. I mean, that's a very weird barometer to be measuring people on. There are lots of pretentious Tori Amos fans.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if I fit in. Maybe that's where I'm at. I don't know. I find Photo Amos fans are usually.
Yeah, I'm getting pretentious vibes. Yeah.
Yeah, is that what you're getting? I'd like. There's a fairly kind of. It's quite a niche fan base, and it's very dedicated. Like I was like a completist with their stuff, and like I absolutely like adore her. I don't know. I like I said, I don't think it's necessarily healthy to judge people by their music tastes. But sometimes, it is an important, like, to have a little bit of overlap of things that you like. Because I like going to gigs, and I like to go to gigs with the partner. Do you like going to gigs with partners? Or
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing for me. I've never had one that I've had musical tastes that overlap. So if I do go with them, then it always just feels like they're there under duress. So I'd rather just not go with them.
Yeah, I feel that's like I'll just go on my own. I'll just go on my own.
Yeah,
or like
it's much easier.
You can see them tolerating. Like, oh, okay.
Because there is nothing worse than being at a gig with someone who doesn't want to be there. And then you just feel like, isn't this song great? Isn't this amazing? Aren't you having the best time? Like, oh, it's just, it's what a waste of time and energy.
Like, it's always difficult if you invite someone to a gig and they don't know the person, and you're like, I feel really responsible for, because I'll be like, this band's amazing, or this, you're going to love it, you're going to really enjoy it. And there's a couple of times that's worked out really well, where people have been like, thank you so much. I'd never have gone to that. I'm so happy I went. And sometimes, like, my best friend was at a gig for this Irish band that I used to quite like called The Frames. And I thought, oh, she's Irish, she'll enjoy it. She hated them. Literally sat there, arms folded like that. And this was before smartphones, and I know 100% if this was in smartphone time, she'd have been like this. Not able to hide the disdain.
No, yeah, I totally agree. This is why, like, I never choose the film if I'm going to the cinema. It's just like, you choose the film. I don't want to, like, be responsible for your happiness for the evening.
Oh my gosh, you know that thing of like, oh, this is actually my favourite film, and I'm going to let you see it. And
oh no!
Oh my gosh! Have you never had? No, it's it's a worry.
I just learned my lesson. Like, it just throws everything that you thought about that person into disarray if they're sitting there and they don't understand why you love that film or that TV show or that thing.
Yeah, like
it's just not worth it.
It's not worth the hassle. Like, you want them to experience the same kind of rush and the same kind of like, and sometimes it just falls right flat.
And you just lose all respect for them. It's like, well, I just may as well not be your friend then.
Let's never see each other again. But I'm like that with music as well. Like I feel, but I have to be really careful not to, because I've got such my tastes are quite varied and quite I'm very used to that thing of like nobody liking what I like, and so if I meet someone that does, it's quite rare.
So the thing with music as well is that, like, sometimes you hear something, the first time you hear something, you hate it, and then you grow to appreciate it. So when someone is doing this to you, so I mean, this is just in case you want to introduce music to me at some point in the future, I'm just giving you the heads up. If I'm sitting there and you're playing me like, oh, here's the new Tori Amos record, isn't it amazing? And I'm just sitting there like, it's because I need time to like process it and like get used to it and like learn to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of phrasing it. Well, I think also that's one of the reasons why I think I shied away from pursuing music. Is also because I think music is one of these things that you have an instinctual reaction to. You just know if you like it or not. And it can be almost immediate sometimes, because you can walk into a room and say, oh, what's that playing? Turn that off. Do you know that kind of sense? So, and I've always felt like, because my taste in music... Is that
why you don't go to parties much?
That's why I don't. You know when people are like, "Oh, does someone want to take over the stereo? Does someone want to put something on?" And I'm always like,
"Oh
you do not want to know what is on my iPod. You do not want to hear it," because I've done this so many times in parties. Saying, "Oh, I'll put something on," and everyone's like, "What is that?" It doesn't help that like a lot of my music is quite downbeat. A lot of stuff that I listen to is not party music. So, like, oh God, really? put this off.
David brings the party.
Well, you know those people that are like, they're desperate to get on the stereo at a party. They're desperate to play some tunes.
Show off their fantastic music taste, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I'm the opposite. I'm like, you don't want to hear it, guys. You don't want to which I've grown comfortable with, because I know what works for me, and it's not a party vibe. No, not really.
I mean, a funeral party.
Maybe, yeah. Do you know what? I have a playlist like for my funeral.
What? How many songs are on this playlist?
Only one or two.
Oh, okay. So you're like, even at your funeral, you're not expecting people to like be interested in your musical taste.
No, I didn't go. It's only because I wrote my will, because you get a little bit older and you're like, I suppose I should write a will. So I've got a will, and I was like, and then you start to think, okay, well, I'll do that as well. It's just a bit of forward planning, because do you know what? I would hate someone else to be in charge of the stereo at my funeral and to hear what they would think. Do you know what I mean? It would be, I would rise from the grave if someone played Angels. Not that there's anything wrong with Angels. It's a very well known song, but it's just not me. So,
I mean, it's quite. It's quite anthemic.
It's anthemic.
Yeah. So what's on this playlist? Is it the Professional Widow remix?
That would be amazing. Like I might even put the original Professional Widow on, because if you've heard the original, it's filthy. The lyrics are filthy.
Yeah, but you got to give the audience what they want.
I suppose there is a bit of that.
I mean, it's only your funeral.
I don't think that's that unusual. I mean, maybe it's a little bit morose to have a playlist for such an event. Maybe it's a little bit morose. But actually, that relates to something we spoke about earlier. I mentioned my friend who was Irish, who put me up in her house.
What's on? Sorry, I'm really bullying you today.
Yeah.
What songs are on the playlist?
Oh, you want to know? Do you want me to look it up for you? No, this is quite.
Shouldn't you just know? Shouldn't you just know off the top of your head?
Oh no, because I've got tons of like little ideas that pop in.
But this is your funeral. Like, you're only going to have one.
Yeah, I know, but it's not a definitive list, though, is it? It's like, these are nice ideas for in between the in between the weeping. What kind of vibe do I want?
Tropical house.
Do you want me to look it up for you? I might be too embarrassed to tell you. Let me have a look for you.
So, but are these songs just not on the at the front of your brain?
That's not how my brain works.
How interesting.
Yeah, no. Well, no, I don't spend every week and minute thinking, what was a good song that I could play?
But okay, and so then my follow-up question to all of this. So you've put a lot of thought into your funeral songs.
Mm-hmm.
Have you also planned songs for your first dance?
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, so I was engaged for a while, and we had put some thought into that. The person I was engaged to is a huge fan of Kate Bush, and so am I. Although I don't think Kate Bush has really got a very. I mean, can you imagine two big lumbering gay men doing Wuthering Heights? Can you imagine it?
I can.
I actually think that would be wonderful, and I don't know why I didn't think of it at the time. Have you got a song for you? Have you planned one, or is that, are you like, no thanks?
No, no, I can't imagine. I can't, I mean, repeating themes that we've already covered. I can't imagine standing in front of people and expecting them to watch me have a first dance.
Yeah, it's quite horrifying, isn't it? Like, oh God, why is everyone looking at me?
Yeah, I know it's kind of like the done thing, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone else if they were doing it, but it's just, there's something so weird about getting married in that way. Let's invite 500 people and let's make the whole thing about us.
There are certain things that people think are traditional that they have to do. I think one of the advantages of the fact that gay people couldn't get married for a long time, and then in the last 10 years or so, the laws have been changed to allow people to get married who are of the same gender. And one of the good things about that is that there's not really a tradition that's established. So actually, you can do it any way you want. and you can kind of buck any tradition that you think doesn't suit you. I think it gives you an opportunity to say, this is how I'm going to do it, and it's going to be about what I enjoy. And my best friend got married, and he absolutely did the fully traditional, very Scottish, we were all in kilts. It was a very traditional wedding that kind of was all of the things that you'd expect from when people say wedding. But I've been to other weddings from like mixed gender couples and same gender couples where people just do to what they want, to meet an expression of who they are as a couple. And I think both is equally valid. You know, some people are really traditional; they want to do things that are traditional. Some people really want to do something. Like I had one wedding that was on the side of a hill, and we're in a campsite, and we all cooked the meal together. So there's lots of different ways you can celebrate your relationship, and I think the most important thing is to make it your own.
Yeah, I'm also like a bit of a doomsday. What am I? I like to say it's pragmatic, but I'm probably like more on the negative side of things. And I really wouldn't want like my relationship to dissolve and that song to be ruined to me forever.
Oh, that's a really fair point. Yeah. So for a long time I couldn't listen to Kate Bush after that relationship ended. It's really like because it just was too, because that was at the time when she did those concerts, you know, the Before the Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so she did those concerts, and we went to see. I actually went 3 times. Don't tell anyone, but I went 3 times. Yeah, it was incredible. But I didn't think I'd get another chance to see her. And so, like, you know, when something ends, and you're like, it's just that entire thing that we shared, I can't now do. You know. Like if it came on shuffle, I'd be like, no, skip. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. But you say you're quite a doomful person. Do you have a funeral playlist? Have you?
No,
is that just me?
No, no. And I don't even want a funeral. I just want them to like throw me in the river.
Oh, there's songs I can. There are actually songs I can tell you that are very good for that.
Like Down by the River.
Well, no. Like, are you aware of someone called Aldous Harding? She's got some really good doomful songs. Which would really suit being just thrown in the river.
Well, I don't know. Like, I also quite enjoy irony, so I'd want something like "Spice Up Your Life" or something.
That would be wonderful.
Down the river, yeah.
La 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 sploosh.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I went to see Spice Girls in their last tour, so we went to I went to see them in Cardiff. And the reason was because we couldn't get tickets for London, so we thought, let's just go to Cardiff, we'll have like fun in Cardiff. And it was wonderful. But there was like 6 of us, and we were 6 men, and my best friend was there with his husband, and I would have thought, like, it's fairly obvious that 6 men at a Spice Girls, I don't want to make any assumptions, but they were holding hands and kissing and things like that. It was fairly obvious. But then, my best friend, it was like a big, what was around us felt like a big Welsh hen do, and there's ladies next to us that started hitting on my best friend. They seemed to be part of this group of, and I was like, really, guys, we're singing along, we know every single word.
But was it not in a like, oh, I feel comfortable around these people because they're obviously gay?
No, she was flirting. There was flirting going on, and he's like, but I'm with my husband. To be honest, that was a wonderful experience, because it just brought us right back to, like, it was only a couple of years ago, and it just brought us right back to our youth of dancing and those kind of pop, like, you know, like I said, my best friend used to drag me to the pop floor, and that's you know, we were always touring and froing between different types of music, and I love pop music as well. I absolutely love, like, a right good Sugar Babes banger on the dance floor, and pop music is like as in my bones as other types of music, you know. So yeah, if you are going to get thrown in the river and you want someone to sing "Spice Up Your Life," I'll step up. I don't mind.
Well, whilst we're here, the fact, like, so you keep saying ghetto, and I keep getting really excited about the way you say it in your accent. Can you say space ghetto?
Space ghetto. Space ghetto.
You know, because do you know the?
Yeah,
do you know
yes.
what I'm just? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have to not pronounce the T, don't I? It's space ghetto. Spice Girl. Space Girl. It does sound like Spice Girl. Spice Girl. Space Girl. It does. It sounds exactly the same.
It's so lovely.
Space Girl. Spice Girl. Yeah, it's there. I can hear it.
But just say ghetto a few times for me as well.
Ghetto. Ghetto. Ghetto.
Yeah.
Ghetto.
Yeah. So we're going all over everywhere other than the ghetto.
Yes. The ghetto. Yeah, so what would you like to know about the ghetto?
So were you in London when the ghetto closed?
I think I had. Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was quite sad at that point, but I'd kind of stopped going by that point, and it kind of because it moved venues. It moved to a venue in East London, and that's kind of right about the time that I stopped going. A couple of the. It's strange how the scene has changed and shifted in London. That when I was in London, that kind of studenty vibe was very much in the centre of London, but that shifted to East London now. Mm-hmm. So as I hit my 30s and grew a little bit older, just going out and partying every single weekend wasn't really like a priority. And those particular clubs that I used to love so much kind of fell by the wayside a little bit. Club nights often have a shelf life because this like music falls out of favour, so they need to keep being innovative and keep, reaching out to who is going to be going out to clubs, and yeah, like I say, I slightly outgrew it, and then I think a lot of the clientele that used to go to those places, the mid 30s to 40s. I know that they had like a reunion for pop stars, and I really wanted to go, but I kind of felt like I would have that because these were all part of a collective of pubs and clubs that were all run by the same group. So pop stars, the Ghetto, Trash Palace, they were all kind of part of the same group and had the same vibe and the same kind of clientele. So we all knew each other. I knew people that worked behind the bar, and we knew DJs, and if you knew the right person, you could get in at certain nights. Not that it mattered because it was never very expensive. That's another reason why we used to go so often. Like I say, it moved east, and it kind of changed, and like the vibe kind of changed, and things just changed in London's gay scene generally. It's a very it's alive, and it shifts and it changes, and people have different experiences and at different times. My experience was very settled in that time period, and that very specific kind of flush of a very specific type of music where like punk and indie and that was all very much you could find those nights really easily. I wouldn't know where to go now. I don't know if that's just because I'm over 40.
Just a quick side note, I love how every time you say you're over 40 you laugh nervously
because I can't believe it. I'm like, really? I almost don't believe it. It's because we're talking about a time that's like 10 to 15 years ago, up to 20 years ago. Time passes in a strange way. Some of that doesn't feel like it was that long ago. I spoke to my ex about some of the stuff that we're speaking about, because so much of that is associated with the people that I was spending time with. So a lot of my memories of that club specifically are about him. And we're speaking about a gig that we went to. We went to see Courtney Love, and it was a solo gig that she played at Bush Hall, which is a really small venue. It was like a secret gig that we found out about and managed to get tickets for. And we were just saying how it was such a formative gig experience. It feels like it was just last year because it's so cemented in my mind, that experience of being there with the crowd, listening to the music, and just those kind of experiences, I think, don't leave you. So when I think about it, it feels like it was only a short while ago. And then when I look at my calendar, I realise it was 2 decades ago. And then I quite enjoy aging. I quite like being older. It gives you a lot. But you don't realise it when it happens. You just one day you wake up and you go, oh, I'm 42. How did that My mum used to always say that. She's like, David, I still feel like I'm a 16-year-old. I feel like I don't feel any different on the inside. It's just my body has changed. And the years have racked up. You know, I don't think you do. You always feel like you're the same person. Or you grow and you change. But the core of you, I think you always feel connected to where you've come from. And sometimes, like those memories of things that are really formative, you can, like, honestly, it's so clear in my mind. Yeah.
And so with that in mind, why was it Ghetto that you wanted to talk about as a venue?
I think because I have such joyful memories of it. And like I say, that it was related to a very positive relationship. I'm still really close with Ben, my partner who I was with at the time. And it introduced me to a bunch of really interesting, creative people who were doing really fun and creative things. And I felt like, I think it relates to a time when I felt like anything was possible. You know, when you're young and you're in your mid-20s and you've got your future ahead of you. And I had already done some stuff that, you know, I'd already achieved some things that now I'm quite proud of. But at that point, I felt a little bit unsure of, and I didn't really know who I was or what I was supposed to be. And there's a point in your mid-20s where that starts to form and solidify, and you get more of an idea of your own identity and what that means to you. And that can involve a lot of experimentation and trying different things and meeting different people. And I feel like people of that age, when I was that age, I was much more open to new experiences and new things. And going to the Ghetto was very like that. Ghetto was a night where, like, every night had a different flavour. And it was, sometimes it could be incredibly unexpected, like in that sense of being open to an experience that you don't know where it's going to go. I think that's it reminds me of that time when I felt like anything could happen and anything was possible in my life as well. I you know, your 20s are a point at which you could go in a multitude of directions, and you know, the possibilities feel limitless. So, like, for me, it's a really positive time. And happy memories of silly dancing on a sticky dance floor, dropping a can of Red Stripe and failing to pick it up.
What? You didn't pick it up? That's so.
Well, it depends if the crowd, if you're in like the middle of a mosh pit and everyone's like pogoing, you're like, it could be quite dangerous to try.
Did you ever go to Ghetto, Trash Palace, or Pop Stars? Well, if you did and you have stories to share, then please get in touch. I want to create the biggest online record of people's memories and stories. Go to lostspacespodcast.com and find the section Share a Lost Space and tell me what you got up to. As always, there are bonus points for embarrassing photos. The sweatier, the better. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as Lost Spaces Pod. And whilst you're there, go give David some love on his Twitter account. His username is conveniently David Paisley. David is also one of the people behind LGBT Glitterati, who are selling all kinds of queer t-shirts, caps, vests, and face masks, with all profits going to the Transgender Defense Fund. Go top up your summer wardrobe at www.lgbtglitterati.com. And if you're like me and you can't spell glitterati, it is spelled Glitterati. Easy, simple. Lost Spaces is not only a podcast, but a concept record as well. I've been writing songs about queer venues and the people who used to live their lives there, and will be releasing songs over the coming years. You can hear the first single, Well Groomed Boys, which is also playing underneath my talking right now, on all streaming platforms. If you liked this episode, I would really appreciate if you subscribed, left a review on Apple Podcasts, or just told people who you think might dig it, kind of like it, you know, want to listen as well. I am Kay Anderson, and you have been listening to Lost Spaces.